Hey, it's the Low Life Podcast.
Do you know anything about nightmares? Can you jam the pop from Cowboys and Service? Ever read Neuromancer? Ever experienced the new wave? Next wave? Dream wave? Or cyberpunk? I didn't think so. It may be. It's a world where you can't do the same thing. I know what you like. A world where curiosity and imagination.
I'd buy that for $1. Hide the planet! Hide the planet! Hide the planet! Hide the planet! Shut up and get in the car!
Go away, Baton!
Yay, you found us. It's the Low Life Podcast. I'm Coin Ops McGillicuddy here with Shadowlink,
Hello.
Scum,
Hi.
Zero,
Hello again, habitual listeners. How's your escape plan?
I'm having bunker thoughts.
Not
And we
bunker
are-
thoughts.
There is no escape.
We are
Let's fucking face it.
we are joined by a very special guest, Butcher.
Hey,
There he is. Hey,
Welcome.
high tech, low life.
that's what's up.
Yeah.
He's coming to us live from the other end of a can on a string. No, it's
Yeah,
all good.
that's real high tech, man.
Well, that's the low life part of it.
Yeah.
I like it. It sounds kind of grimy. I like it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it sounds like you're contacting us from a remote outpost in like
That's because I'm a
Antarctica.
dirty man.
From the sewers of Brooklyn to your living rooms.
deep from the bowels of the earth.
it's from Art Bell's Dreamland. So, hey,
Undercity.
before we get into this, everything sucks in the world. There's bad faith fucking bombing of Rafa going on as we record this. There's I'm not going to talk about the Kendrick Drake beef.
No, you are not.
Yes.
I got that out of the way before we started recording.
Appreciate it.
But I have an idea for an episode about that. That's not about the beef as much as
How it's
everything
unfolding.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Anywho, but aside from that, check it out. Neon Dystopia is we got a couple stories up there. We got more on the way. We got two
Yeah.
more
We
months,
got fiction now. So.
Yes.
and it bangs. It's really good.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel getting back into publishing? It's nice.
Ah, it feels good. Feels like a job again, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it definitely scratches an itch.
And if you want to help us pay them and keep the lights on here, we have a Patreon. If you got an extra buck, kick it. There's other tiers. I am still busily going through the Library of Congress files on Alexander Graham Bell. We will have that episode by goddamn end of June. I swear to you. I'm trying to be realistic.
We're looking for the scandal. Got to get the juicy beef.
There is a beef, and it's good. It's fun.
It's funny because like you are so dedicated at this, and I haven't done shit. I think I work better with a deadline. I need a deadline, guys.
Oh, I thought you guys were done already, and I feel like I was like, I'm the dickhead.
I have everything. I have everything that I want to like look into, but I just haven't organized the notes yet.
Oh, I know. It's a lot. Look, we're taking this very, almost too seriously.
You are the one who's taking this very seriously. I mean,
I started doing some research on Alexander Graham Bell last week, and I learned something very important.
Uh-oh.
His brother was not named Taco.
I know.
That's disappointing.
I know. Man,
Feel lied to.
can confirm. I mean,
No, I was trying to lighten the mood. I'm taking it way too seriously now.
So yeah, hit us up there on the page.
cyberpunk is a very grim, dark culture.
Totally.
I'll have you know.
Yeah, I mean, if you want it, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm pretty cipher brained at this point. Like, it just give me the steak, give me a decent VR experience. And
Right.
And
Good
talking
God, yeah.
about escapism.
Yeah,
Speaking of,
to jutate to this point, yes. Zero.
right. So we decided kind of collectively, the world is on fire. So we wanted to have kind of a more fun episode, and this is actually, I have to give props where props are due to Barduino on the Discord. Realized that a mutual friend of ours was actually vacationing in the future last week when
wow.
attending Neotropolis, the cyberpunk sci-fi immersion festival taking place in the Mojave Desert. It's a Wednesday through Sunday affair, and it's usually late in April. And anyhow, I figured, like, yeah, I've got a friend who's there. He's taking pictures. Let's do the Hunter S. Thompson man in the field thing and see if we can get him on the episode to talk about his experience. As we sort of stated before, escapism can be a healthy thing in moderation. And this is a pretty interesting festival. It's one that I've been sort of following on the periphery. I have not attended myself, but it's the same production company who puts on the Wasteland Weekend Mad Max themed adventure festival. It's a week-long affair. And I have been to that once. I had a wonderful time there. I've been following this production company and everything that they're doing because they're really putting on some really interesting, unique entertainment. It's part music festival, it's part camping festival, it's part LARP, it's part costume extravaganza. Butcher, you want to give us a little talk about how you found out about it, how you were looking into it? I think you've been at least on the sidelines for about a year, kind of tracking what they were doing before you decided to commit to going out to the festival.
Well, I did want to go last year, but I got busy with work, and I think I just kind of remembered 10 days before, and I said, I'm not going to do this last minute. I'm not going to fly across the country and go into the desert and not quite have my gear the way I want. I'll wait a year and kind of prep up a little bit here and there across the year and spend my first time at Neotropolis trying to enjoy myself and have a little vacation.
And this is the third year they've been doing the event. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Wasteland Weekend, I'm going to keep comparing it to Wasteland Weekend because that's my experience, but that they've been going for about 10 years, and there's a whole subculture that's built up around it. It's very established camp and setup. And I remember when looking into this, my biggest concern was that I didn't just want it to be like Wasteland Weekend, but with neon. And just based on what you've told me, what I've seen in the promotional videos, what I've seen from other people that I know who've attended, it is a much different affair. There's a whole different feel to it. The place looks completely different. Whereas Wasteland Weekend kind of looks like a big, massive post-apocalyptic refugee camp with a lot of different smaller camps all around it. This looked to me a little bit more like a neon Las Vegas strip kind of an effect. Definitely looked much different.
Yeah, I would probably say they might use the same metal that they use on some of the buildings and things like that, the structures, because a tent and a shade is a tent, but how you dress it up is going to be different and what you put on it and decorate it. I mean, so the event in lore takes place on Kepler 609c. So I would imagine that's because it's going to give or loan itself to a wider genre like aliens or sci-fi themes as well as cyberpunk. But as you visit and as you spend time there, there's no doubt that it's a very cyberpunk dystopia place. And between the posters they put up and the wanted signs and intergalactic bug-like creatures that are
it sounds like they
roaming around.
Yeah, it sounds like they could be throwing in a little bit of Western themes too.
Well, it's really the way that they kind of present it. It's almost like a cyberpunk version of Tatooine. It's like an asteroid on the edge of the space where a lot of different cultures meet, and there's a trading post, and the whole thing is done really well. They kind of run it as part like show, part LARP. And again, if you check out some of the
this sounds like an MMO in real life, really.
Yeah, because that was like one of my questions of like how much is, because it is like a set, right? Like it's in the middle of the desert, and I was like, how much does like LARPing tie into it? Like as much, like how much of a gaming element is in this?
I would say as much as you want to do.
Right.
I mean, there's like generally there's this like the biggest structure there, the NPC structure, they have like, one of the first groups I talked to try to sign us up for their group, and it's just basically a pyramid scheme. The whole thing is just like they're very upset about that. Like join us, and it's it's kind of like a cult in a way, and you can totally tell it's not. It's not serious, but at the same time, it's like, yes, sign 3 people up and get them to sign people up, and you'll rise on the pyramid of leadership.
And part of the storyline is that there are different factions, and you can join one of the different factions, one of the different camps. But then there's also like 3 kind of like I'm not sure the word they had for them, but they're like motivators. But they're 3 like forces that kind of control what's going on, and you can work for one or the other of them, in addition to being part of like somebody's camp or somebody's faction.
Yeah, and this is a game, so it's not like an actual pyramid scheme. Like
no.
It's totally just everything here is just for giggles. It's like there's like these fake giant rubber things, and sometimes they clip them to people, and somebody like on a big costume, and they don't notice that they're walking around. Somebody else sees it and takes it off stealthily, or just says, "Oh, you got something on your back," and then you return it, and you get like a token. And I think the guy said, "Oh, you touched that with your hands," and gave me a little tiny bottle of Fireball. Go disinfect your hands. Those things are dangerous.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking too about like what's the age range here, because it's obviously like first thing that comes to mind is obviously going to be Wasteland Weekend, but the second thing that comes to mind is like Comic-Con. So I'm like, it's like, what's the age range here that usually go to this?
Well, it's 18 and over, so that's like right up front. No people underage are allowed.
That's
to
refreshing,
go.
Actually.
And I would imagine part of that is liability, and part of that is you have less policing or problems going on if everyone's just an adult.
Right.
There wasn't anything crazy or untamed going on or unhinged. At least not in my presence. I mean, it's a big festival, but from what I understand, it was just like a lot of people going there to have fun on their vacation. And it was like an immersive experience that wasn't like a crappy Disney World kind of thing where you actually.
This sounds better than a cruise.
Organic.
Yeah.
In spite of the fact that it's in the middle of the fucking desert.
Yeah. So I mean,
go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You're just there.
Okay. Well, so the thing about the weather is it's going to be subjective every year, like any festival. I mean, ask the people that were swimming in mud at Burning Man, right?
Right.
So, like, whatever the gods or, the Matrix decides in their limited programming, and after giving your chicken-flavored snacks, you're going to wind up with weather of some nature. This year was, from what I understand, was a lot cooler than last year. And it was pretty nice. The first night was a little cold, but besides that, the only real weather was like pretty much all day Friday during the day. It was windy. It was like, one of my pieces of advice for people is make sure you have a tent that can withstand at least 30-mile-an-hour winds. You're not guaranteed that, but that was where it kind of capped off.
Oh,
but
because that's the thing. You're in a tent.
And there are different ways like that you can experience. There's also like when we went to Wasteland Weekend, we rented a camper van between 4 of us, and another friend of mine rented another smaller van, and we made our own little kind of corner where we had our own camp. And a lot of us did have tents too, but we had the shelter of the truck to revert to if we needed to, and a small kitchen in there. And that, even with that, it only ended up costing each of us maybe like $100-$120 to throw in to rent the thing for the week. And it was definitely worth it.
There were definitely a lot of rental RVs there, and there were people with all different structures there. But like, the 3 things that you're going to need is a good shade shelter. Even if it's not hot out, a lot of days I just walked around in something long sleeve and thin to keep the sun off my face and arms because you don't want to fry on your vacation. And it definitely was the desert and bright all day.
And it almost kind of,
I would cook very, very quickly. This is not a face that sees the outdoors very often.
Well, being in the desert like that, I mean, it's the intense sun is almost like if you got caught in a sudden rainstorm. What do you do when it's really sunny? You go find some shade, you talk to some people, you make some friends, you have a drink. So it's not like it wasn't like impossible to enjoy yourself even at the hottest part of the day.
Oh no, there was plenty places to go and things to do, or places to hang out. I mean, one day they had some barter, and everybody just goes like the center of town, and they lean on one wall, and they're shaded, and then when the sun shifts over, everybody goes to the other wall. Everyone
So
has
wait-
like old stuff they don't need that they kind of trade. Nothing is bought or sold; it's only traded.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you were telling us about that. So this bartering system, you just trade things that have sentimental value, right?
Whatever. Well, and like if you have clothing that you're not going to use, I think generally it's like a lot of stuff you don't want, and you just figure out.
Kind of like a white elephant gift thing.
Yeah, a lot of it, like I didn't know what to expect going in there, and most of the stuff was just like I don't need this anymore. And a lot of people looking or people that don't have stuff. That was just my experience there, and it's sort of like, oh, I can use this thing for my kit. Like, there's a bunch of stuff I have that was super nice, but then I had some stuff I didn't care about, and I just gave it to people that were like, this is my first event. And I was like, oh, here, have this. It's my first event too, but here,
The horse trading aspect of it for me was one of the most fun things. I think when I went out there, I had like, besides like what we paid up front for the everything for food, for preparing, for transportation, and my ticket, I think I had maybe $25-30 in my pocket and a backpack full of trade goods, just like trinkets, jewelry, sunglasses, necklaces, hats. There's all kinds of stuff. And ended up trading for everything all weekend. My coffee in the morning, my lunch in the afternoon, traded for stuff with other people. Having like water on you and water handy is good. Like anytime you can just throw some water at somebody. It's really nice way that you can just sort of offload stuff that you don't want and get a lot of cool stuff in return. And like I said, I didn't really spend any cash for anything the whole time I was there that I wanted outside of what I already brought. It was all just bartered done.
So you pay to get there, you pay for the ticket, and you're part of this game as much as you want to participate in. So, like, what do you do for food? And because I'm thinking of like a carnival kind of setting, is there funnel cake?
Funnel cake would be pretty good. I wonder if you can make that like a World Wide Web funnel cake. The representation of the digital construct of the world we live in this simulated reality.
It's a series of tubes.
Funnel cakes.
A series of funnel cake tubes.
But there were about 5. There's a food court, and there were about 5 or 6. There were 6 vendors there.
Okay.
There were 3 trucks, and they withstood the wind fine. The tent structure ones kind of took a beating.
Yeah.
I thought, I didn't do all of them. Some of them had like a lot of lines. One of them had a lot of lines on it all the time, and I was like, yeah, I'll go to this one because I know the food is good.
Yeah.
But you can get there's one of them, and you could get a decent amount of food for $10. They had like 2 different people that had coffee, and that's kind of a must.
Yeah.
You can definitely within a few minutes of going outside, there was like some weird dollar store-esque market that was marked like a liquor store. I found it. I found it by mistake because I was looking for this Mexican place, and I was, oh, there's a liquor store, and I needed to get ice for somebody. I went in there, and this is like, oh my god, this is like every little thing I never needed in my life. It was just sort of like Dollar General meets I don't know, like Tijuana Trading Post.
While we're on the topic of refreshment, they do a really cool thing as far as like the booze goes, because they can't technically open a bar where they're exchanging money for spirits. So what they do, and they do this again at Wasteland Weekend, is they have an all volunteer donation bar. So the bartenders are volunteers. All the booze that you're drinking is donated. You donate something, and you get to drink at the bar for free, basically all weekend.
So you pull up in your cyberpunk apparel, and there's just a free bar, at least a donated bar.
There's actually a couple of places where you can get drinks. There's like
it's awesome.
A couple of clubs and places where you can get, and there's different things going on in the different clubs. Like behind the gas station this year, they had karaoke inside, and going inside and having everybody sing like David Bowie was awesome. That was like, you can't ask more than everyone singing about spiders from Mars,
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So explain, like, how exactly is it set up? Like, does
it radiate? Is it a grid?
Yeah, is it so? This is a city in the middle of the desert. Do they just set this up temporarily, or is this like a set location?
Oh, this is totally temporary. They have like scaffolding they put up.
Oh shit!
To form
And it's really
like,
impressive, especially if you
Oh
look
my
at the
God,
pictures.
yeah.
It's like 2-story structures. They're
It's
massively enclosed. It's really neat.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really insane because even though it's like 2 stories, some of them like the roof is 3 stories, and there's
Yeah.
like netting, and then there's like usually something above the netting to keep the sun out, and possibly it's like really high up, so I'm not like staring at the ceiling. I'm busy looking at everyone's costume, but I imagine there's a tarp there, and it's rather comfortable in all the enclosures. Like during the daytime, there's no air conditioning. There's like always like kind of a little breeze.
Yeah.
I mean, the weather outside was pretty nice, but it was nice and shady, and the buildings are very large.
Yeah.
And the other thing that was very interesting is on the coldest nights, there's a lot like one of the structures was dome. It's like a giant dome,
Yeah.
and they actually had somebody performing like hoop work hanging from like a cable.
Oh, like an
And there was a woman
aerialist?
doing- like an aerialist, correct?
Nice.
And I was like, wow, that's a pretty strong structure. You know, I'm not thinking about like, well, what if we had 8 people hanging from here? You know, there's only one, but you don't think of like, oh, they're going to drop somebody from the ceiling. But all the structures at night, when you had a few people in there and you were just shielded for the wind, if it was a little cold, like the first one was like 47 the first night, but if you went in these structures, it was like, wow, it's super nice, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it like a geodesic dome? Was it like made out of like triangles?
Yeah, it was totally. It is totally exactly.
You fuller, baby.
And it was white. Yeah, I posted a couple of photos on it. It was white and a big geodesic dome. And,
Nice.
And you know, there's some bartenders in this place, and you go in and you just like, oh, okay. And it's always interesting because it's kind of like the cantina of Star Wars. You go in and you look around and you just don't know what you're going to see. Is it going to be somebody who's wearing like a like a segmented acrylic plastic tie and a suit being a corpo, or is it somebody? There was like one time I went in and there was a girl and she had like something that looked like a IV bag with glow in the dark slimy green liquid, like super bright, something that brighter than like a Nickelodeon green of slime, and it was like
That's
an
cool.
IV that went to her, and of course it didn't work, but you had like every weird imaginable thing and like several variants of normal.
Well, that's Blade Runner too, right? Like, I mean, that scene where he's out on the street and he just has everything coming at him all at once.
That is very
And
much the
it
vibe.
looks-
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's fucking cool. I like that.
That's just living in a city. Like, I think I'm most impressed by like the fact that it's obviously like a LARP, but like they come in because it's so many different people just coming to this place. It's like, yeah, you don't know what you're going to see. I'm like, that's just living in a city. Honestly,
They really do a good job as far as the immersion goes. There's like themed news reports, themed commercials. There's ads on the walls. There's posters put up everywhere. If you look at some of the pictures, it's just like you're in it. Like it really does transport you to another place.
There's literally walls with like 50 plus posters near each other that have like different events and ideas and factions. And there was one that I sent to a friend of mine, an image of, because on the bottom of it was like no philosophers, and my friend was like a philosophy major. It was like so much random stuff there. It was just amazing.
It just sounds like a labor of love that just like everybody going there puts time and effort into, and that's what makes it so much more interesting than like a canned entertainment experience like a cruise or Disney Disney cruise would be.
This really has that old rave vibe.
Yep.
That, the blur shit where like you're not there for drama. You're there to just get the fuck down and like, oh, hey, do you need some water? You're looking a little flushed, et cetera, et cetera. Like that's the thing I can enjoy.
Yeah.
I'm not a club guy. You know what I mean? I don't like getting dressed up and being scrutinized by a fucking doorman. Like it just, yeah.
I heard you were the Zoolander of your time.
I love it. No, I'll be honest with you. Like that, but this event is such a nexus of so many things that I love. I mean, I used to be a club kid in college. I love LARP. I love camping. I love the desert. I love cyberpunk. and really like you said, you can bring as much, you can enjoy it in as many different ways as you want to after you buy the ticket and you get there. Like, there's great performances every night. Large stages, smaller venues you can go dance. If you want to run through some of the LARP stuff that I have been following peripherally, one of my favorite ones that did this at Wasteland 2 is the bounty hunting LARP, where like you go in and you agree that you're going to be a bounty hunter, but you also become a bounty. So they take your picture and they put it on a wall, and you grab somebody's picture off the wall, and you have
you can do that.
Oh man,
the rest of the couple days to find this guy. You can find him in one day, and you can just do as many of these as you want.
I mean, you can do that anywhere. I mean, if you mark someone as a bounty, you're going to be marked as a bounty pretty quickly.
And it really, like, it's great because you would just be sitting down in like a bar, like in a shady area, and somebody would be like, "Hey, is this you?" And like holding up the poster, and they have to do like, you do a little challenge. You don't like actually fight each other. I think most of the time when I was doing it, I challenged them to like, paper rock scissors, best 2 out of 3. That shows my my old White Wolf LARPing roots there.
Did you use dynamite, rock, paper, scissors, dynamite?
No, I didn't use the dynamite on them. I just did the regular rock, paper, scissors.
Scissors will cut the fuse, so it's always like a
What if they find you and you're like, "Is this you?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not."
That's not really in good spirits, but you could do that if you wanted to. And then like,
you can always see that. That's clone number 3. I'm clone number 4.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could try and say something like that, but it comes down to like someone being savvy or not being savvy. Like you could try to talk your way out of it if you wanted to. And if the person believes you, more fool them. But it's all in good fun. Like, and then if you do kill the guy, they each person that's doing the bounty hunt gets a prosthetic finger, like a fake Halloween finger. You take their finger, you take it back to the bounty cage, and you get like a little reward for it. There's like a laser tag area where they have like just basically like laser tag shootouts. I know there was like a smuggler game where different people would take stuff to different camps, or like a supply run game. There's a lot of different ones that you can sort of
different quests basically.
Entirely.
Fun. Oh man, this does sound like a lot of fun.
It is like live action MMO. Like you have a hub area, you can opt in or opt out of any mission. This is cool. I like this idea.
You can literally just walk around and hang out and talk to people. There's a lot of really cool people there. And sometimes I would meet somebody really cool and amazing, or I'd see them twice. And then I had like a little gift that I bought a bunch of these little playing cards that were aces, and they were made of steel, and they had a punch out of a spade, and it was a bottle opener.
That's awesome.
And it was just like, "Hey, I had a really good time talking. I want you to have this." And a lot of people are like, "Oh, I could totally use that." But it was more like, and a lot of people love stickers, and patches are like a good currency to trade with people or give them. Like sometimes people are like, "You're kind of awesome. I want you to give you this." And it wasn't done tons to me, and I only brought like 20 out. But at the same time, it was just a good moment to kind of interact with somebody and say like, "Hey, I appreciate that you're doing this cool thing with me. And like, I appreciate the effort you're doing," without actually using words.
That's a really cool thing too. Like the barter system. Just going back to that real quick, and like with having stickers and stuff like that, because you're able to attach a memory to something that you might get and you might really like, and then you're like, "Hey, yeah, I got it at this cool fucking thing in the middle of the desert."
Actually, what I did get a lot of is some people 3D printed up some tokens, and I think I got about a half
like that.
of those or so.
God, that's so
unique. And it's like just a little piece of plastic, but you're like, I kept them all, and I'm like, I gotta put these somewhere. And they're really just such a weird, small thing, but at the same time, like I look at it and I can say, "Oh yeah, I had this conversation with this person or that person," and it'll bring up that memory if I look at it.
It's so interesting to me that you can find so much camaraderie in a fake cyberpunk dystopia. Whereas when you come out to our real cyberpunk dystopia, man, it's rough out there, guys.
This is kind of like lends to the idea that like the one thing that like a lot of dystopian shit gets kind of wrong is we do that. When there's a disaster, we pull together
collectively.
The Leviathan is bullshit.
Yeah, and it's even when you come to something like this, which is kind of like intergalactic trading spot, or like on the surface of the Ascent, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's the fact that it mashes up genres is something that I think is extremely cool and fun.
Well, yeah, it's the Ascent. Like,
Yeah, well, it gets a lot of people an opportunity to play a slightly different game.
yeah.
That's all we're looking for.
Yeah, whatever you want to bring to it. It's maybe got, and that inclusivity is important, I think.
Well, and I don't like, it's really tricky when you discuss cyberpunk without, you don't want to sound too like gatekeepy, and I like something that just blows the fucking walls off of that.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like I don't want to have that conversation. I like these elements of this, like design aspect, and let's mash it up with this here. Like the retrofuturism of Alien meets something else like terrestrial. Like Logan's Run or something like that. Like all of these things are nostalgic and retro. But I'm just saying, like, we don't see a lot of that carry forward.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like whatever different thing that the participants each want to bring and express. Like you can make it real, whatever it is you want to bring to it.
Well,
I think it's really fun.
Isn't that part of the point of just punk in general? Is that self-expression is crucial.
Self-expression, community, like that's really what this is. I mean, I know you got to pay for the experience, but the point is that this does a good job of trying to channel that, and you're all
fostering that community. Yeah,
exactly.
To do it, and like I said, having a lot of experience with LARPs, with cons, with different festivals. Like this is just the perfect nexus for me and for pretty much everybody that I'm talking to right now of that kind of thing. It's just. It's really nice that they're able to do this and to pull it off so well. And again, it's only the third year they're doing it. I can only imagine it's going to get better and better, and it's going to get bigger and bigger. How many people would you say were there? When I went to Wasteland, it was almost like 2,000-3,000 people. I mean, it was a lot.
I think it was between 2 and 3, the same amount.
Wow.
That number. That's what I was told that was going to be there. I mean, I never really checked with anybody because
that is
to me, bigger is bigger, better is better. And there's a difference between the two,
Yeah.
Technically speaking, it's 5 days, but I think it was my experience, and I think Butcher, you said the same, where the last day is mostly a bug out day.
Yeah, mostly. I mean, I witness everybody packing down and taking the city down.
Five-day city.
Yeah. So the other thing is, I would say to people want to go, bring like a solar charger if you want to, your phones or something.
Yeah.
And some batteries. You make sure you have your power. Make sure you have your water.
Get one of those crank radios.
I would say that is, you are still camping in the desert and you are having a lot more fun with drinking and dancing. You want to budget about 3 gallons of water per person per day minimum, and it doesn't hurt to be water rich where you can go and share it with other people who may not have it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, makes sense. I had a question because you said there was like not that there was a rave, it felt like a rave. What was it you said? That like there is music in one. So besides LARPing, it's like what else is there to do?
There is a place called the Core, which is sort of like their concert venue. And the crazy part is it's huge. Like I've taken some photos and some of them I captured, but there's a huge floodlight aiming out of that. And if there was an Air Force base near there, they would probably be using lasers.
Right.
But
right next to Edwards Air Force Base.
Okay. And the geodesic dome had a bar in it, and if you go right next door, there's a place. I mean, it could change what they do or set up every year, but there was a place called Club Kaiju, and like one
that's been there for a while. That's like the Edge Runner Club.
Gotcha.
So that one is awesome. I mean, there's a bunch of tables on the side you can sit on one end that's kind of open, and then the other side it's recessed and a little like discreet in a way, and people were playing games and stuff on the other side. But it's a pretty big dance floor, and like there were different people going and different music going, and a lot of DJs that go on here. And the really cool, super nerdy thing that I liked is I went in there and there were all these people and they were grooving out with lightsabers and spinning blades. And this one guy had these 2 blades that was like 2 curved daggers that mirrored each other facing opposite ends. And as he spun them, they were lit up, but the pattern on them stayed was as it spun in a circle as he was twirling them. The pattern. So if you looked at like one angle, let's say you looked at
9
o'clock. You looked at 9 o'clock. on the blade where it would reach, those would be spinning in sync with the music to that 1 degree. And it was just like, the actual blades were responding to the music. So as he was spinning them, they were doing a secondary spin inside. So there was like all sorts of light up sticks and things like that. And I guess that was a dance time for that. There was like people doing RC races. Somebody had a big metal toaster there it was like a big cube with wheels, and it had like a giant tentacle dildo thing on it that would spin around.
Please tell me that there is a robot fighting arena.
Yeah, there's the battle bots. There's a battle bot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. God, I love that. That's perfect, and that's appropriate. You need that. You need that for your middle of the desert cyberpunk festival.
Absolutely.
So they had a place in the NCP building and NPC building, and what it was inside is it was like, we're rehabilitating these animals, and the animals were just like little robots that people made, and like under the table they were like making them do different things. It was really cute. And there's a guy that was walking around with a dog that was like smaller than Boston Dynamic, but it was like, let's call that a large size. I would call this like a medium sized robot dog.
Yeah, they're selling those now, aren't they?
So cute.
Damn it.
And this one was remote control, and the guy who did it had a camera up front on it, but he did a really good job of making it react like a real dog and get down and get excited because you were interested in interacting and petting it, and it would be like shaking its back end. There's no tail, but it would be just like all excited. Something. It would be like just kind of like how you would imagine a dog react, and somebody took time to train themselves like to do this. And there was another dog I didn't pet, but it was really hilarious because that robot dog had like a little cowboy hat on.
Until they hump your leg or eat their own shit, like
they eat their own batteries.
In addition to the BattleBots arena, they also had I don't remember the name of it, but you showed me a picture or video from where they do the top battles, the spinning tops in the arena.
Oh, the Beyblade.
Oh god, Beyblade. Oh,
yes.
God.
There's like a whole league. It's pretty wild.
Oh my god, it's so funny. Like it's like
they get into it.
I don't like. I'm not crushing somebody else's thing because my things are equally as dumb and obscure as anybody else's.
But this fits.
It cool. Fits 100%, and how excited they are by it. It makes me happy. Yeah. I don't get it, but I don't need to get it because it's not my thing. Like, go have fun. Yeah. But it's so funny because you see like somebody who looks, like, oh look, there's this really attractive woman with long blue hair wearing this like super official uniform, almost nurse's outfit thing with the Beyblade Center like in the middle of town. I'm like. It's like I feel like I'm in adult Pokemon world.
Yeah, I do. I do appreciate the fact of like Baneblades, like anywhere else. Okay, fine, whatever. It's a niche hobby. Baneblades in the middle of the desert in this cyberpunk thing, pretty cool.
Exactly.
I can track like a history to that point then too, because like the reason why soccer or football in the rest of the world is so popular is because you need a ball.
Yes,
that's it. You don't need gear, and this is something you can make out of fucking found Tetris. Just parts. You can make a top. You can figure out how to weight it. You know what I mean? It's
sure there are people who modify
all you need
battle tops.
And so when everything is a just giant goddamn, post-apocalyptic Rust Belt crater, all you have to do is walk around to the alleys and fucking decaying buildings and find parts. Yeah. So Beyblade makes sense to me.
And it's so much more appropriate than like what else do they do?
Building an entire mech.
Rat races. Rat races. I mean, this is the same concept, except that you're betting on fully inanimate objects.
Yeah.
Which I was right next to the guy. There was a guy who was doing trading there in a little arena. He brought a little, it's like a giant plastic ball that's an arena. It's shaped like an arena, but it described at the inner center as like a ball in a way.
Yeah.
But like. You listen to him, he was, he's talking about getting stuff from Japan that's like different that they can't get there. So like, I have these like I have these special mechanical tops that spin differently and do these different things from Japan that they're harder to find, or the imported ones. I usually have to have a friend of mine in Japan send them to me. It was just kind of cool to see somebody, and it's like, wow, I just learned something I never knew I needed to know, but now I know.
That's
I
wild.
know.
Yeah.
And the other really funny thing is he was wearing a badge, and he was like one of the champions, so it says champion top on it, and you gotta laugh like you gotta laugh like a 14-year-old at the champion top.
Man.
Oh yeah.
That's all right. Yeah, I do love that. That's pretty.
There
And,
has to be another sport there somehow where like you can win champion bottom. There has to be.
I mean, I can tell you, but
in addition to that, in the battle bots, they also had a casino area. You told me. I know they had one for Wasteland, but what was this one like? You said pachinko. What else was going on?
Well, there was inside the main building was like some pachinko machines, and they had a separate arcade, and next to the arcade there was like
the vintage arcade, right? That was the other thing.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And then there was next to it there was another place that had like a DDR style dance machine. It wasn't DDR, but on the other end there was a really cool bar called Atomic Cafe, and the neon was really chef's kiss on that, and they had a spinning light up top that had the symbol on it. That was really awesome too. That was like a really nice visual effect because it was 3D and spinning and all glorious. But if you go down the back alley, there's a whole sort of there's a whole casino back there where you can gamble.
Oh, yeah.
A friend of mine won me a Bitcoin. It's like a paper dollar.
Nice.
Plastic dollar Bitcoin.
That's the
I
cool
don't
thing
know if
too.
it
Is
holds
like
the same value in Cyberpunk world
Yeah.
or not.
I mean, the stuff you bring to trade, it has whatever value you say it has. I've seen people with like, gold press latinum and Beskar ingots and like just whatever you have to throw into the pot. It just gets really cool looking.
just have like a glowing stick, and I'm like, this is refined uranium.
Sure. Tell somebody that and they believe it. Why not?
You could just say, I mined this from Uranus.
Hey,
I'll just have a baggie full of flour.
Now, the one thing that was also kind of fascinating to me is that the whole time that you're there, there's stories and things unfolding that are kind of like set pieces. I remember seeing a video where there was one that like a convict had escaped and he was like running around trying to get people to help him, and then security forces end up catching up with him and they come out with these laser whips, and it's part of an ongoing story, and you see this guy's picture later on like all the news feeds like he's a wanted criminal. Did you see anything like that going on? Like anything that was obviously like a set piece or a performance of the story?
Well, there was a whole group of people that wore orange jumpsuits that I think escaped a Pluto penal colony or penal moon.
That'll happen.
They actually, they had all orange jumpsuits, and they were trying to play it down like, no, you're all in prison orange. It's hard. It's this penal colony of Pluto, or something like that on their back, and it's just like, we're just hanging out. And the funny thing is, they got all these lights, and they had, like, normally people wear them on the wrist, and they had them all on their ankles, and they had like they were like the low jacks that we wear here on Earth for when you're in house arrest. But it was really cool because it was just such a cool thing, because it's like they took this very common cyberpunk item and they all had the same style, and they made it into a different piece of costume, and they all looked like people that were escaped prisoners with ankle monitors.
They should have said like Pluto Penal Colony is our band. And then the whole storyline ends with them doing a battle of the bands where like all 10 of them are on stage with various instruments.
Very oh brother, where art thou?
There you go.
Or like that Daft Punk.
The Dusty Mars Bottom Boys.
Mars Bottom Boys, nice.
Oh shit!
Episode title.
They're the opposite side of the champion top.
Don't ever let them team up. It'll...
One thing I wanted to ask you too. I saw some pictures. One of the biggest attractions for Wasteland Weekend is the car show. There's a massive car rally. I know there aren't quite as many futuristic cars there, but what did you see as far as autos and motorbikes?
There was there was a Cybertruck there, and the comments were awesome. Like, one of the better comments I heard. The better comments I heard was like, "Why did somebody bring that old antique?"
Nice.
And that's the thing I'm thinking, because you told us that during like our pre-recording stretches, and I was thinking about it for a while. I'm like, oh, they brought that there to die. Because the desert is going to scour it down to the tires.
They took it off the road.
It was probably getting rusty, and they needed to sandblast it.
They'll probably just leave it out there.
Yeah, the sand is going to
I'm
destroy
half
that.
convinced that anybody that buys a Cybertruck at this point is just buying it for the memes.
Oh man, look, let me just say, our cyber stuck on Reddit is been a source of fucking joy for the last several weeks. Like,
it really has.
Well, the one I saw today, not to diverge too much, but like there was this one where it was just a screen. It was a collection of screen caps of people failing to sell their Cybertrucks. Like this one guy was asking for $5 million for it.
Wow! What? Wow!
One had 250,000, and then they marked it down to 230,000. It's like, oh, you motherfuckers only paid like 100 for it.
Yeah. What do you think you're doing? Jesus Christ!
The Cybertruck
paid 100 for it, and it doesn't even.
The Edsel,
It's not even worth half of that.
The Edsel was at least a functional automobile.
Yeah,
I was gonna say the Cybertruck is like the Susan B. Anthony of cars. Nobody wants it, but it somehow has a value to somebody.
It's just, oh man. I think it is hilarious that they had it there, and that they were like,
well, I don't know who brought it or what the deal was. If it was like a rental or somebody owned it and brought it. I was glad.
Oh, it's a permanent fixture of the desert now.
Well,
the desert owns it now.
The desert has reclaimed it. The nature is healing itself. We'll go back and there'll be a whole family of Cybertrucks there.
Oh God.
They're all rusty and malformed. They have like touch screens hanging out of their windshield.
They're not now.
Oh, they might look cooler. It might be something like Cronenbergian by the time we get.
That would be better if it's leaking all sorts of random liquid out of like a Cronenberg movie.
I like the frunk breaking that guy's finger video. That's been.
But did they have anything like around the autos?
Yeah, they had about
parade or
6
anything?
or 7. I didn't see a parade. But I did see, like, a lot of times there were some really cool, interesting vehicles parked in, like, the center or around. There was somebody camped near us, somebody had some vehicle with the gold wing doors that popped out.
Oh, nice. The DeLorean, cool. Or?
No, I didn't know what it was. There was a bunch of, because a lot of wasteland people. Yeah, a lot of wasteland people go there, so you have some crossover. There was like this interesting police car there. I took some photos. I mean, I didn't really look for tags, but I think them were mostly custom made, and there was like a one-seater there that was kind of really cool and futuristic. I think if you had to put it into a time period, I'd say like Pluto Nash, Eddie Murphy. No, one of the really funny things is I put a picture of the Cybertruck because the little iron box, it literally looked like something out of like Red Dwarf or Star Trek Season 1. It was just, it looked like a hunk of metal with wheels and a tentacle dildo that would spin around. And it was like, it went after the Cybertruck's wheel, and I put a post of a photo of it, and I said, oh yeah, this is the new armored assault dildo machine. And somebody said, well, we know that's what the Cybertruck is. What's the thing next to it? Was like somebody's comment. And I was like, oh my God, that person wins the internet for the month.
Oh man.
So that threw me. I had a question all lined up. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask, do you happen to know like how this is set up? Like we've established that, there's a production company that does this, but are the people working there like all parts of like small businesses, or is this all the same company?
So this is from what I understand, like everybody who does in there is all volunteers, right?
Oh.
So it's kind of like a co-op sitch.
Okay.
I do believe so. I think I'm not sure, but my guess is any money they make is probably going towards bettering the site for the next event.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
I haven't done any digging, but like the people who are bartenders are volunteers. The people that help you and answer your questions as volunteers. The people that set things up are volunteers. Because if you really had to put something like that up in a few days and take it down in a day or two, that would cost probably a lot more money, and we'd probably be paying like 3 or 4 times the amount. The people who are there.
As far as I've been able to tell from reading, everything they've made since they started Wasteland Weekend has gone into the site. It's gone into, first of all, buying the property. Second of all, buying all the stuff that they would ordinarily have to rent to build it. So that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah,
it's really a labor of love.
No, I respect that.
Yeah,
I mean, the people there with food are there to make money, and God bless them, because if they didn't show up and work all day and all night, and some of them have like 1 or 2 people, and in the morning they'd open up and maybe they'd take a break or two, but they were there a lot of the day, selling food, and that in itself, like, I hope you made a lot of money. That's definitely a service. It's hard work. The food wasn't,
especially being in a kitchen in the desert.
yeah.
It wasn't like the oh my god. Have you seen the Formula One? Have you seen the Formula One fucking like
the
menu
show
that's been going around?
No,
like there's an F1 race going on Miami or something right now.
For Miami.
Really interesting.
$190 for a dozen wings.
Chicken wing, $200 chicken wing. Yeah.
What?
What?
$200 lobster roll. Oh, the wings come with crudité, the thing that killed Dr. Oz. There's just
I forgot he died.
No,
Different.
His Senate run, but like the food, all the food in this one menu was like, everything was like $200, $400, $900 for like what would be a tapas dish. It's
extremely ridiculous. I went to the Grand Prix when they did it in DC. I want to say like 2006 or 2008, something like that. It's insane. It's insane. It's a whole other level of consumerism and consumption that I am not comfortable with.
Yeah.
Well, like because my dad worked for Shell Oil at the time. We got tickets for free, but
the all right, an F1 car, the engineering behind it, everything is fascinating to me. It's an incredible piece of equipment, right? Yeah. Everything around it is dog shit. Literally everything around it is dog shit. Yeah. And that's why I will buy a video game that lets me do F1 racing. But I just like, now they're trying to make story modes where you're a driver and now you need to compete with all these other drivers, and the number one driver in your team's a dickhead and he doesn't like you. He's trying to get you kicked off the team, but this other team, he's your rival. And
thanks. I saw Days of Thunder. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I went to the care.
I have the craziest sidebar comment to make. Is I have one of my random Facebook friends, is always posting things about how this so and so new driver is going to be my next twink boyfriend, and it's like almost like on a weekly or daily basis he has something to say about like making this my next twink boyfriend or something. And so whenever you say F1, somebody says it now, like, that's where my mind goes after like a year of like this guy making all these humorous posts that are just slightly unhinged. Definitely entertaining and funny and doing their job.
The Formula One to twink pipeline is real people.
I never thought of that, and he's putting up all these European men that are tiny and skinny and fitting in these cars. I'm like, okay.
Well, they're jockeys, you got to be.
Kind of. Ostensibly, yeah.
Also, I muted myself to go to the bathroom, and I come back. How did we get to talking about this?
We were talking about how they were people who were selling food, at the event. And
that was actually a question.
God bless them.
Yeah.
God bless them, because they were making. They had to make money. They got to pay for.
Okay, You said it was like reasonably priced, right? Like $10 gets you decent amount of food.
There was they actually had really good bagels out there, and I'm from New York, so me having a bagel is good. And on top of all, she bought rainbow bagels because she figured there's a lot of
nice.
Diverse culture people on the rainbow group there.
How was the ramen sitch?
And I hate rainbow bagels out of principle, and the only one I had was miserable. But I have to say, despite me hating rainbow bagels, I thought her food was amazing. I was just like, wow, I actually like this rainbow bagel. It tastes like a good bagel.
Yeah.
How was the ramen situation? Did you get any noodles in you?
So I didn't get any noodles, but inside Club Kaiju, there was a Taco Bell, because all fast food restaurants in the future are Taco Bell.
Nothing.
Did they sell recycled food? That's my question.
They had ramen noodles there at the Taco Bell.
Close
enough. Fair.
So they gave away food there.
Oops.
So
Dude,
not just liquor, but
My
food.
If Taco Bell started selling ramen for real, that would be.
You think I'm not eating it? You think
I
I'm
would
not
be so
eating it?
excited.
Would you say like ramen tacos?
Ooh.
Is the shell made out of the ramen noodle?
Or maybe just a layer of ramen with some the rest of the other 5 toppings that they have.
Yeah.
The other 5 ingredients that they
There's
have.
a place in New York. There's a Japanese village in Industry City and food courts, and there was one place there. I don't know if it's still there. And they had a truck, and I went to the truck that was in Herald Square for a short time. And the most delicious food I have, and apologies to the vegetarians out there, no offense, but it was a pulled pork sandwich, but it was between 2 ramen noodle buns.
Man.
And they had this special paper that was like a shower cap over it to kind of keep it together.
Oh, buddy.
On either side of the ramen noodles. It was like a little tricky eating, but I have to say that was like one of the greatest weird things I've ever eaten. It was just like, man, who do I have to kill to get another one? Because I'm sign me up. I'm there.
T was in Toronto and went to a what do you call it? A sushi taco fusion place.
Ooh.
Yeah, and now I need to know what the fuck that's about.
What does that look like?
I don't even know.
There's one in New York I went to.
Of course there is. It's New York.
Yeah,
It's New York.
it's in it was at the Chelsea Market, and it was okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't to die for.
We have a Korean taco fusion place near my house. It's pretty nice. The bulgogi tacos are pretty solid.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, I'm pro pulled pork. I'm sorry.
Pulling this in again a little bit.
Okay.
This is the thing that happens at about the hour mark. This is the tangent.
We're all getting hungry.
Yeah.
And I also I've got a thing after we kind of get closer to wrapping.
Did you remember what your
and
question was?
Yeah. So what I wanted to say, Butcher, I know that you. Part of the reason that we bonded, we became friends. You used to be big into SCA. I used to be into SCA, Ren Fair, all that sort of stuff. You used to do PenSig. PenSig is the big SCA encampment. They do it once a year, similar to this. How does this event measure up to PenSig? I guess was kind of what I wanted to hear you talk about.
Well, PenSig is a lot different because, one, there's usually about 10,000 people, but as I like to say, more is more, better is better. I have to say it's a more relaxed environment and more of a vacation there because in PenSig there's a lot of stuff that goes on all year, and it's this is a once a year thing. So when you show up here, it's sort of you go there and you do your thing and you talk to your friends, and then I'm gonna guess unless you do something local or start some sort of local thing, I went to Connecticut to a cyberpunk night in a bar that was really awesome that they had that. But you literally just show up, do your thing, you prep for it, you make your costume or, whatever you're into. I'm going to hopefully have a void comp machine to do tests for people next year. I'm hoping.
Brilliant.
I'm actually going to try to come up with some real stressful tests and give people a warning and just make them sign something ahead of time. I mean, it's not going to be anything mind blowing or breaking.
All right, I got one for you.
But if I'm going to do something a little rough, you should get a warning. But let's hear your question.
You come across Mitch McConnell on his back.
Why aren't you helping him?
Oh shit! How do I answer this? Kill him with a rock. Did it pass?
Just stand there.
Your husband Donald Trump comes to you with a naked woman in a Playboy magazine.
Oh God! Oh Jesus!
You have
These are very, very morally challenging questions. If you really want to test if you want to test my empathy level, don't bring politicians into it, please.
No, it's really funny, like because there's an underlying joke in the whole. There's an underlying, I guess, a running joke in the whole thing where they disparage toasters. It's like toasters, like a disparaging term for androids or artificial people.
Yeah, that's like Battlestar Galactica.
Battlestar Galactica, right on. Yeah.
There's actually a poster in one of the things, and I took a photo of it because it was so funny, and it said all toasters are brave.
Oh.
From the brave little toaster movie that psychologically scarred and damaged so many people.
Yeah, I was one of those people. I think if I can trust my memories, I don't even remember anything about it. I just remember that I saw it. And
I remember.
Why was that a movie? Why was that a movie?
Oh, we all had them. I mean, you had that fucking horse drowning in that never-ending story. You had a
fucking Snow White, guys, like the
fucking Fox and the Hound. Are you shitting me?
Yeah, running through
Bambi.
Bambi.
Willy Wonka was a serial killer. Every time they went to a new vehicle or a new set, there was one less seat.
It's true.
Every dead kid got a song from Oompa Loompas.
He knew it.
Well, they were hungry.
Dude, no, something wicked this way comes.
Yeah.
The U.S. could enact that every time we have a drone strike and kill somebody, like we'll send an Oompa Loompa.
Oh, God.
Jesus. Talking about drone strikes. So you were next to an Air Force base this entire time when you were there.
Yeah.
Not a lot of drones, eh?
No drone flying. And I could see why, because if one person goes too high or does something, that could kind of pull the plug on the whole thing. So the policy is
then, unfortunately.
Yeah, there was one drone on Saturday that flew low just to take a video of everything, and I think that was an official event drone, and whoever flew it knew the parameters, but no private drones, as it said in the announcement.
So no drones, no lasers.
They also prefer laser use, right?
Yeah.
No, you can use a laser as long as it didn't go above the horizon, is what they said. So aim it at the ground.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing here because we're right by Reagan.
You're can't right by everything. What are you talking about?
Yeah, drones are. That's a no go.
Do you mean robot Reagan, zombie Reagan, or reincarnated alternate dimension Reagan? Which Reagan is by you, or just the airport? Or just the airport?
Just the airport.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hold on.
Airports are named after bastards. So
I was going to say, considering where you and Zero live.
No names. We have no names, fool.
We have no names.
All right, I gotta write that down.
All right, bleep that out. Mm-hmm.
So the one of the funny things is somebody had a mask that I've seen before, because you'll see a lot of commercial stuff out there. Yeah. A lot of people had very basic $20 cyberpunk glasses that had little grids and lights on them, and even people who wore that, I still thought their kit looked good because it just it was basic and I knew what it was, but somehow seeing that many on mask just made it I didn't have any sort of attitude they're only doing this. I thought wow, they put an effort on.
Crocs.
I feel like that's part of the cool thing. It's you could be standing at a bar and a guy next to you looks like he just stepped out of District 9 or Elysium at level of costume, and then you turn to the other side and you got somebody who's Silent Running or Red Dwarf level of costuming, and it's awesome. They're both so cool.
The Red Dwarf level stuff is always awesome.
Yeah,
Butcher, I gotta ask
all that.
How many people were just walking around in jeans and a t-shirt?
I was just about to ask that.
I did not see anybody once just walking around in jeans and a t-shirt.
And you know what?
That's it. That's what I'm wearing.
Okay, that's your thing.
We'll make you some Levi's 5001 Space Odyssey jeans.
Guys, come on. It's easier now than ever to dress like it's in we're living in the future because joggers were a thing.
Well, I got an old shirt from the machine shop I worked at with my name on it and shit. so I could just roll up the sleeves of that and just be
You
the
know,
mechanic guy.
I made 2 friends from New York. Like, I met them in a hotel on the way there because I stayed the first night before, it opened. I flew out the day before, and I stayed in a hotel. But I met these 2 guys, and they literally just wore a jumpsuit every day.
Yeah.
And they just wore, their dress under it. And you know what? The advantage of wearing the same thing every day is people are always going to recognize you.
Yeah. So how many? So did you see Kaneda's bike there at all?
Like, see what?
Kaneda's bike, like the vehicle.
I heard bike, and I was just thinking about like all the electric bikes I saw.
I like to hear about that too.
My people.
Yeah, there was a few people. Well, we didn't have that level. I mean, Cybertruck was like the highest level of stuff, I would say, as far as like expense and like whatever you feel about that. That is the most cyberpunk thing out there because it's hot garbage from an idiot. And it's
pretty cyberpunk.
So, I mean, if you don't like Musk, you should love the Cybertruck because that might topple his company. Really, don't hate on him.
It's
What a hill to die on.
There you go,
on, man.
well, that and X, and don't call it X because like they're not called X's; they're called tweets still. So that's my
it's still
empirical
Twitter.
evidence that it's still Twitter because they didn't change the name of what you're posting.
Oh yeah, no, the biggest thing that gets like still sticks with me is like, how do you fuck up stainless steel? Like,
you get your own proprietary process, buddy. You get your own proprietary process to fuck it up.
I mean, DeLorean got it right, and that's
if Tesla was asked to reinvent the wheel, they would fuck that up too, I'm sure.
So there was no Kaneda bike, but I did see about 4 one wheels. There's like actually one guy on a one wheel, and he was going around and juggling.
Nice.
Well, like three or 4 balls.
You're talking about one of those electric unicycles, right?
Well, yeah, a one wheel is a particular type that has the wheel,
like the skateboard with the wheel in the middle.
Like a skateboard, yeah. Like the wheel, like your one leg is in front of you and one leg is behind you, and the wheel's in the middle with an electric unicycle. Your legs are left and right.
It's funny because when I went to the one George Floyd protests when they were happening in Grand Rapids, I went down there and I was like, this feels almost exactly like Akira if you just swap out the electric skateboard and one wheel riding gang, actual biker gangs.
Hey, bikes, they work, man.
I don't know, my buddy visited some months back last year, and we were drunk standing on the corner a couple blocks from the house, and just really quietly all year. I think I told this story before, but it was like, shh. And then like 15 dudes with like these little unicycle fucking things, skateboard things, were just like moving 40 miles an hour down the street.
Oh, unicycle gang! Unicycle gang would be terrifying.
2 o'clock in the morning, they're all wearing helmets and shit. Just like,
we did not predict this aspect of the dystopia, the unicycle gangs.
I enjoyed it. I was like,
it's fucking wild.
If I was a little younger, I'd probably be wrecking myself on those left, right, and center New York.
The electric scooter gangs.
For sure, yeah.
So to show my age a little bit, sometimes one of them would go by me, and I would yell to them, "Easy there, McFly." I'm like, I bet you they don't get my Back to the Future reference at all.
It was too long ago. You're 200, 300 years in the future.
I need to try.
As it turns out,
it's funny you mentioned that because there is, as I think with every cyberpunk culture, a real strong love of the the chunky 80s cyberpunk vibe.
Yeah.
And amid the many like cults and fake religions that they have there's one called the Cult of 84. And basically it kind of goes around. There was a colony ship that was lost. It was sent from the Earth in the 80s, and it was finally found, and they found this like proto-culture of 80s movies and like videos and tapes and music, and there's like
orange ashtrays,
a subculture that goes around trading 80s items as if they were like relics. It's really that's how they brought their love into the fandom. It's pretty dope.
That's awesome.
I mean, that sounds like.
I really dig that.
Yeah.
One of
That's
the
kind of
things,
funny.
one of the things I saw, I think the guy was dressed a little corpo, and he had an attaché case, and he opened it up, and he was showing this relic he had, and I think it was like a really, really old Windows for Dummies manual.
Nice.
Oh, I love that, man.
That
Have
is
you met my friend Mavis Beacon?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, I was gonna ask also, like, well,
Yeah.
here's the list of questions of like, how many people in long coats or dusters did you see?
You
What
know,
was the
I
duster
saw-
count? What was the duster count?
the duster count.
Yeah.
I would say duster count was like below 10 and maybe
Wow.
at like 5. It wasn't very high. It was like
Wow.
5%.
So
There's a lot more lights out there. I would
Yeah.
say like, not everybody carried like a gun. Like some people had big guns and machine guns. And, if you go on the Neotropolis, groups, people are posting all sorts of photos.
Packing
I
Nerf.
would,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
they-
Packing
people
Nerf.
were packing
How
some
many,
really cool-looking weaponry.
Yeah. How many V's did you see there? V from like Cyberpunk 2077.
Bees, I saw
V.
0
V,
bees.
v. You know
V.
the main character from Cyberpunk
Oh,
2077.
actually,
With the
I
jacket.
did. I did see. Yeah. I did see. I was just thinking about that when you said that. I was like, "What bees? What? What? Is there a global crisis and you're worried about the bees dying?"
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so,
yeah.
we're making robo bees. It's okay.
There's a
At least the
Black Mirror
CIA
episode on that,
is.
actually.
So yeah, I saw some people with the cyberpunk jacket directly, and then I saw people that had the arm I would say armatures, the little protruding parts on it.
Yeah.
I saw a couple people that it wasn't exactly that jacket, but it had similar elements to it.
Yeah.
One of the cooler things I saw is somebody had like this metallic arm, and it had these protruding, like almost like CO2 cans popping out of it. It looked very Ghost in the Shell. It was just like metal, more like metal cylinders coming out of it, like something you'd see from Ghost in the Shell. And I just I said, hey, could I take a photo? Like, not a lot of people were taking photos. I think I was like one of the few people that was taking a lot of photos because that's a little bit my jam in New York. And I wanted to document it and get my friends to come out and have fun too. But there's actually one of the vendors there sells a device to put your phone in, and I bought one like a few months ago. I was like, oh, this is interesting, and I got it, and it's just basically a clamp that adds this big handle to your thing so it doesn't look like you're holding a phone, and it gives a better immersive experience. Like, everybody knows what that is because a lot of people have it, but it kind of fits in with the world more. And somebody had adhered a small speaker to it that had some lights on it, and what they did is they ran a scanning protocol, so they probably had some sort of sound file that ran through the speaker and it lit up, so they were able to scan you for some sort of bugs or intrusion devices inside you. So that was cool.
That was another question I was going to ask. So what do they have, like, hacking elements for the MMO bits?
I did not run across that, but I did some real world hacking that was kind of funny. I did buy this light up neck collar there because most of the stuff I own is actually just daily wear that's very cyberpunk. My daily wear is like you're gonna see me on a set of Blade Runner or a sci-fi movie where people are dressed from the future but fashionable.
A quick aside here, I will say in all the pictures that you showed me, everyone looks like they're wearing amazing costumes. You look like you really came from the future. Your clothes are like just real future clothes. Like, it's hard to. It's not disparaging the costumes at all. Not disparaging.
But everybody does their own thing, and like that's my thing for next year. And I knew that was going to be a challenge going into it because my stuff, like, I mean, I went a little crazy for some reason. I wound up packing 5 sets of shoes. And like almost nobody looks at your feet, and sometimes people would notice my orange shoes that were awesome, or like something else, right? Green shoes, and nobody would say anything, but they were awesome. But a friend of mine who went to Wastelands told me, like, it's kind of like I guess if you're like if somebody sees you and think you're a cyberpunk janitor, you're kind of a winner. Because like you're like so understated, you know, you just look like a guy in a jumpsuit that says sanitation or something. Like if you look like somebody that's everyday, but you know it's hard because you're always going to like something better. Like the one piece of kit that I had that was awesome is a friend of mine programmed this little computer screen, and he said, "How do you want to hear?" I said, "Put a magnet on the back and a piece of metal." And what it was like a little tiny 1.5 inch screen by 1 inch screen, and it said, "Hello, my name is Butcher," and it didn't light up. It was kind of like a Kindle, and it had like red and black and white. But we designed it. You know, we went through like, what do you want it to do? I said, make it glitch every 20 to 40 seconds randomly, and there would be a new image that would pop up randomly from a whole bunch of set of like 8 different images. And except he played a joke on me, and he put one thing in there, and I saw something was on there that I didn't recognize, and I didn't see it in time. But somebody asked me like, "Oh, your thing says ask me about your maps," and I'm like, that was a practical joke. That was a practical joke my friend put in there. I was like, I'm not surprised. I'm like, I don't think that was a mistake. And I asked him, like, he goes, "Yeah, I totally did that to prank you, so people would stop you and ask
maps."
That's awesome.
Maps of what, Butcher? That begs the question. What kind of maps are you withholding from us?
I should make treasure maps and hand them out to people. And they're just going to randomly have an X somewhere, and they're going to like...
No. You're in the desert. That would be a problem.
I mean in the event. I don't mean like 500 miles
geocaching,
out.
Yeah.
That would be the most cyberpunk way to do that.
Geocaching, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody was doing that there.
Yeah. That could be your thing. You could go up there and do a geocache thing and have like a new thing every day and reset it, and like, hey, put everything back, and however you want to run it.
And I know what I'm going to do. I'm gonna sell the scoop of chili and the Fritos bags.
Yeah, you can do that. Make a good living with that. To your question, I think Shadow, I did read that there was some kind of like a hacking challenge like thing that you can go to a place to do. I don't know what it involves, what it entails, but being in the they have a great Facebook group, a public Facebook group where people talk about the things that they're planning to do, the things that they're planning to bring. So just following that, you can actually see a lot of the planning and just how many people kind of bring their own thing to the event that just makes it even more like alive and even more real.
That Windows for Dummies old book that you find, just dig that up.
Yeah.
Did you see anybody dressed as Max Headroom?
I did not see a Max Headroom. That disappointed me. Yeah. Somebody needs to make a Max Headroom broadcast and maybe hack one of the TVs.
And I'm assuming since
Chicago style.
Since you didn't see many people in duster coats, I'm assuming there weren't actually any doctors there. Like
I did see like a couple of doctors.
Oh, God damn it! They're everywhere.
Not many. One guy had this interesting blue plastic chest piece, like plate, and then he had coming up. It's like if you know what a bever is medievally, it's like a collar protector that came forward. That was like a shovel point to the front.
Right.
But there was a couple of doctors, 2 or 3. But I mean, you could put your own spin on anything. Yeah. I want to circle back to the hacking. So I did buy, to bump my look up, I did buy a neck collar that I liked that one of the vendor had that was like, very cyberpunk, 2077, but it's his own design.
Nice.
And it had the hacking part is it had an app that controls it. And when I went to like Club Kaiju, I look and I want to change my lighting because there's a lot of settings and you can have it go against the music if you want. You can have it fade, you can have it solid. It has a lot of really cool settings on it for something like over the counter or an app for the lighting. But when I opened up the app, I looked and I saw like 30 different devices with lights on it that I immediately linked to. And I'm like, everybody's going to have their lights go to the music now, buddy.
That's dope.
Yeah,
that's absolutely dope, man. All right, look,
so yeah, a little tiny bit of chaos. That's about it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Want to fucking go to this? Like,
it sounds like a lot of fun.
This. I mean, I'm just thinking from like kind of like the writerly perspective. Like, I've been in a bit of a drought, and I can read a bunch of stuff. I can watch a bunch of stuff. I can play video games and the whole 9 yards. But to actually kind of go, like, there should be more of these.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I'm getting to. Just for this like idea of going in good faith to try to simulate something that doesn't quite exist, and there's no real clear. It shouldn't be just one thing. This crossover is nice. It lets you kind of like expose something to something else to see what it makes.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you too. Having gone to a lot of different similar things like overnight camping, LARPs, and stuff like that. Besides everything that we've talked about so far, it's like that is attractive about this event. Just the remote location, being out there in the middle of the desert, it makes it so much more immersive than any other con or event or festival that I've been to, even ones that I've stayed overnight at. Because like I said, it's nonstop. You're in this world. You can be in it or out of it as much as you want, but you wake up and it's there. You don't have to create it. It's
shit, dude. You could do this
really
in Detroit.
You could. Oh my god.
Absolutely.
I'm not even being funny. Like, it's just like, well, fucking, Techno Christmas is coming up on Memorial Day weekend here. And it's a really good techno festival that has this like ends at midnight and then after parties until you fucking drugs run out.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you mean New Detroit with the hero statue of RoboCop in it?
Yeah.
They did finally get that up. Oh god.
They did.
I gotta
They
go.
did?
See, the hard thing with Detroit is that you have to pick areas where it's like, oh, that's a serial killer drop site. All right, well,
Yeah, you stay close to Hart Plaza.
yeah.
The abandoned buildings downtown.
I saw Barbarian. I know.
So I'll give you another thing because I had that name tag, and I actually, 2 people I made friends with that were from New York. They went and they had like a little camera they brought with them, and they were making different name tags for people, like ID tags. Cool. And they made me one for the Tyrell Corporation, which was awesome.
Nice.
Cool.
That's like totally my jam. But going there with a name tag that fits your costume is like an awesome way. And we even agreed. I've met people and I said, like, look, I'm bad with names. I'm going to meet a few thousand people. If I don't remember your name, I'm going to ask. Don't feel offended. I was like super upfront about it. And it's not like, I'm not great with names under normal circumstances, but like not sleeping and not eating like regularly and not drinking enough water and, like partying and seeing like 80,000 overload costumes, you're all like hyped up. But like, if you wear a name tag, I noticed people would come up to me who recognized me and they saw the name tag because you're going to wear like a radically different outfits, or at least for me every day. I tried wearing something really different. And sometimes I had a hat and sometimes I didn't. And somebody might not recognize you. But I'm going to say, in my personal opinion, like having a name tag is going to elevate like your social ability and make it like part of your costume or something that's related. Or if you make a cool calling card, you can give somebody, maybe they'll remember you that way. Like you hand them something, like you make a weird business card with a QR code or something.
So I don't know, Butcher, if you're going to know this or Zero's going to know this. So let's say you're someone who does want to get in on this and like try and do an event or try and be part of this. How would you go about doing that?
I would join the Neotropolis Facebook group, and I think like around December, the first ticket drop is, and it's discounted.
Okay.
And my advice is if you have extra scratch over after buying Christmas presents or whatever, just buy a ticket now. You'll forget you spend the money. Figure out like it's true. We all spend money, and if we spend it like farther away, we're going to
forget about it
quicker.
Yeah.
So like anybody could do an event, right? Like anybody could just buy a ticket, go there, and just start a story. Basically,
you're supposed
Absolutely.
to. Yeah, you just get a tent. Like I went out and met a friend out there, and we didn't know anybody, and I made 2 friends that in the hotel that were going out there. He saw my Cyberpunk tattoo on my arm. I have a circuit board, and he saw my Tyrell Corporation T-shirt and was asking me if I was going. I'm like, yeah, and I made a friend. And we kind of all hung out together on the first time we met. And then there was a lot of our neighbors. We just were very sociable and just, being human beings with. But it was just like everybody was super cool. And like everybody there was like, all right, we're in the desert. We're here to do this thing and have fun. But, I think next year I'm going to try to be a little more organized and have a little bit more of an encampment. Nothing crazy, but as you go, like you do these things, you figure out what to do to each year. I had to fly all the way out, so I was a little limited. But
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends in the LA area, and some of them do a lot of camping. So I
Yeah.
can probably get like, oh, let's see if they have a shade fly tent, or you can literally buy like a carport garage for yourself and make sure you stake that thing down like crazy. Where you can, having a common space of shade, but it's not hard. You can, there are shady places in the main center.
Yeah.
You can just hang out in your tent if you just don't feel like being social.
Yeah.
And there's no pressure to do anything. Bathrooms are cleaned every morning. They have portos there, but they're not nightmarish. It's like if you've ever been to like an SCA event, they're usually immaculate, or any sort of, I imagine, event where everybody is like normal human beings and not just like the most insane people.
Well,
in the world.
You shouldn't see blood in a
It's
John.
it's different when everybody there knows that these are the portos they're going to be using for 4 days. Like it's kind of an unspoken. Let's be a little more cool than just getting drunk and pissing on the floor and going home.
Right.
Weird. We're talking about porto etiquette, but
everyone's treating it like a bathroom that somebody's going to use,
Right.
but it's cleaned every day. The whole thing. They empty it out and they clean and disinfect the inside every morning. So if you have like a weird phobia, just like go right after the person cleaned it.
So I can't just dig a hole somewhere.
No.
I would imagine there's rules against that, or sanitary rules.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. I think that was all my questions. That sound well.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, boys,
like,
I guess we're going to Neotropolis.
right. Patreon.
What's the what would you say the cost is just in general?
It depends on a lot. It depends on a lot of things. Like, do you have clothing? Did you want to buy something? Do you want to buy something out there? I mean, once you have the ticket, your expense is food and transportation.
The
And
transportation is probably the biggest thing in the equation.
Yeah.
And again, the earlier you buy the ticket to go, the cheaper it's going to be for you.
Yeah, which you said is about like 250, 300 ballpark.
I think it was
For the
about
plane ticket or for the ticket to the event.
The event.
The event's like 300 last year, but I think that was the not discounted price. It might have been like 240 or 260 range.
It's still not.
It was in December.
Yeah.
I was in December when we got it, and I don't remember.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, the cheapest thing was actually the plane, because like I had miles, so I was like, okay, let me go out there and do this thing. The taxi back and forth from the airport was like way more expensive. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I bet you that's some
Wait, you
nightmare
took a
shit.
taxi out to California City?
That's it.
Oh my god! Wow.
He was like, home, smell you later.
That's-
There's a little Fresh Prince for you.
Right.
Hell yeah. Got it. Yeah. Oh, this sounds like a blast. It sounds. Here's
the other
actually
thing.
fun.
There is a Best Western not that far away. Like getting off site and getting on site is very slow moving because the road is dusty.
Yeah.
It's a
one-lane road,
washboard.
basically.
Yeah, well, there's a side lane that you can take too on the way back, but it's just really slow and bumpy and dusty. You're going like 10 most of the time.
Yeah.
In the site, you're only going 5 because they don't want to kick dust up and safety issues. They tell you 5 miles an hour. But once you're out of there, like the hotel is like 10 minutes away. It'll probably take you 30 minutes. It's not far. It's just a slow road.
Getting in and out.
Yeah, and I actually didn't know which one it was. I booked one slightly farther, and it was like the Mexican restaurant that was awesome. It was like 10 minutes away. So I was like, okay, I didn't really book myself that far out,
Yeah.
There's a lot of cheaper hotels, but I'm like, I think based on what I'm looking at, this is kind of like how low. I don't want to spend $55 on a hotel right now.
Yeah.
All things told, if you were just gonna stick to like maybe 1 or 2 souvenirs and the and like food.
I mean, whatever food you buy out, you can, however you're going out there, you can find a Walmart on the way out there if you're driving out there. Like I'm not a fan of Walmart, but if you're camping, like you can make an exception once a year, in my opinion. But
Sure.
your politics and ideals are different.
We all
I'm not
live in
gonna
this
make
capitalist
another-
hellscape. We must deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's easier than looking around and spending hours driving around figuring it out.
I think I know exactly the Walmart you're talking about because there's a big like motorhome parking lot in front of it. I think that's where we stopped before we went out there to load up on supplies.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
Thinking about the
You
prices.
always go to that weird that weird place near the Mexican restaurant, and there was actually a really interesting place that was like diner food that was good.
Hell
and
yeah.
but it wasn't it almost felt like you were in somebody's converted living room in a way, like
Nice.
double room place.
That's
And
the best.
It was definitely like a diner, but it didn't. They had carpeting in there, and I don't know. It just felt like Flo was going to come out and take your order or something.
Were there a bunch of like old dudes talking about like the mob days and running numbers and shit in the back?
No, I think there was I think Sunday we went there. Somebody was talking about church in the background or something like that. Or,
It's one or the other.
People were talking about family business stuff that was kind of mildly interesting. If you're curious about how other humans live that have somewhat of a quote unquote normal life,
You should.
But yeah, I mean, like once
Go ahead.
once you have your plane ticket and the tickets, and you figure out how much food you want to eat, you don't really need to spend any money in there at all.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Because you're doing stuff.
My question was like how much, like bare minimum, how much would you spend on this? Minus transportation, because that's very
minus transportation and the
yeah.
ticket. I don't know, $200, maybe $250.
I would say if you didn't have a tent, you got to buy a tent you like. You know, I saw some really cool looking cyberpunk looking tents, and I looked for them out there, and those were the ones that were standing better. So I'm like, okay, this brand of like hexagonal almost tents, are like $300 to $500 if I wanted to get it. Yeah. I mean, you can probably find a $200 tent or less. If you find them on sale, you have a whole year to wait for them to go on sale. Right. Either REI. If you want to actually do an Amazon, or if you want to do backcountry, one of those places, like wait to the dead of winter and they might have a sale on tents. But I would say like 100 to 150 in tent. Like I'm tall, so like I don't want a tiny tent where my feet are going to be outside it.
Oh man.
It's a lot of variables, but it's literally you're going to spend about $200 in food. If you got a bit of scratch, you're going to try to splurge here and there. You're going to need a chair. The one thing that was bad about the food court that only one of the food vendors brought seats. I knew of a place where I could go and find seating. Yeah. There's not a lot of seating out there, so I think next year I'm going to try to find some sort of cyberpunk camp chair to bring with me, and maybe like a table with play poker on or something weird, or And honestly. There was somebody playing Connect 4 someplace, by the way. I thought that was awesome.
If
glow in the dark Connect 4.
If you can get like 3 or 4 people in a party to go together, the best way to do it, honestly, is to rent even just a small camper van.
Yeah. Even if that camper van is just like for cooking and like making coffee and microwaving stuff and just being out of the sun and and showering. The day it was really windy, I should have went out to town during the day and say, look, I'm just going to go out and get some food and find something to do for a couple hours, because it was, one day it was just like literally from where I woke up till like almost sunset, it was like 30-mile-an-hour wind, and I decided to get a hotel room that night. I was like, look, the wind took, it was just like not a happy day, and I'm like, I'm just going to shower and get a really nice hot meal in a Mexican restaurant near the border. This is going to be awesome. And it was. And then the next day I partied till like 3 a.m, and that was the whole purpose of resting up.
Right on. Yeah, no. Hey, and I'll double down on getting a good tent. I went camping for my bachelor party, and I ordered what was a cliffside tent. And I did not realize that this thing was only going to be slightly larger than I was. And I had a backpack with all my shit in it, so it wasn't like a huge. It was just like a regular backpack, like put a laptop in it, But I had to fit that in there with me, which meant I had to sleep like a scrunched up fucking fetus.
The one thing I will say, and a friend of mine who went to Wastelands warned me about this: you will get sand everywhere.
Sure.
Yeah. It's just going to happen. Like that whole day, like I was fine the whole trip. And then, like, the one day, like, I put everything into waterproof bags I brought out with me, and I bought a couple of tubs so I would have room to switch things out of, like, oh, I wore this can go here.
It's like
organized, but everything still wound up with sand.
It's like rare earth dust. Like, it just gets everywhere. It gets everywhere.
The fines.
Yeah.
Cracks.
Oh, I had one more question. How many people with mirror shades did you see? Because I feel like this would be the most appropriate time to wear mirror shades.
I don't think I saw anybody with mirror shades. No, I did see some.
Fucking wild. What?
We were talking about, and I got off track, but they did have somebody who had a device I saw on some websites over the last year or two on Cyberpunk, and it was like a screen on the mask. And what they did is they would take a picture of you, they take a quick photo on their phone, and then they download it to the mask. And then you'd be standing by somebody with like a screen with your face image on it. And it was kind of creepy in a face steely way, but it was also really kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Because you know what's coming. It's like, oh, I'm going to stand next to myself. And it was just like really, really just like, it was like just something that anybody could purchase. But, it was just, they didn't say anything the way they did it. And it wasn't like a huge presentation, but it was cool. Like a lot of people, like you could see like a dozen people trying to do the same thing, or somebody with like a lot of weapons, but each one is going to be slightly unique and different, and somebody puts their own spin on it. It was like, I took tons of photos, and I've only gotten like less than a quarter of the way through editing them, and I'm like, I got to go back and finish it up. But it's like a lot of sites, and not a lot of picture taken. But I wanted my friends to see it, and I want to drag them out.
Yeah, for sure.
You're just having a blast.
Hell yeah.
I mean, go there open-minded, go there, like expecting to have fun and just like meet cool people. And if somebody does something, play improv where you say yes and.
Yes and, yeah.
Like there was one guy yelling like different crazy kind of Star Wars stuff about, running drugs at this speed, parsecs and death sticks, but he was doing that for like hours on this. He was like really committed to the bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? This is not my thing, but it's a hot day. He's got no hat on. And he's going back and forth doing this thing. Like, I bet you if you talk to him, maybe he had a weird quest or something.
Sure.
Yeah. But,
I bet.
You never know. Yeah. But you never know if he's just like trying to play a crazy person, or he actually has a quest.
Or he has acid and he took it all.
That could be.
Yeah.
Oh, one last small note. It is a dry county in California City as far as marijuana is concerned. They also ask you, are you bringing any drugs in when you enter? Yeah. And the answer is no. I imagine that's because it's illegal and it's a liability issue. But I saw nobody check anybody. And I did see cops twice in there, but I think it was more like the cops went to check out the carnival, and they also need to go and walk around and say, "Oh yeah, look, everything's fine, everybody's happy," because that's their job.
Yeah.
They were cool and enjoying everything.
Just before the Walmart, we hit the dispensary before we went in there, and on top of that, we had a veritable pharmacopoeia of just stuff that we had all with us. But yeah, the answer is no. And if you're smart, like everybody has a good time and nobody has a problem.
Right.
Yeah, just don't overdo yourself. Is the big thing with anything, It's the desert, and it's going to kick your ass if you give it a shot.
Yeah.
I mean, just soak it in, enjoy it.
Scorpions alone.
Yeah.
Well, Butcher, thanks for coming on, for giving us your report, telling us a little bit about it.
I hope people go out and they have fun. Thank you for having me on, gentlemen. I enjoyed your company immensely.
I definitely want to give you a chance to let everybody know where they can find you at, but I will tell our listening audiences that Butcher and I run a Facebook group called Cyber Steel. It's Cyber STIJL. We talk about cyberpunk fashion and stuff like that. So check us out there on the Dinosaur social media Facebook. The Cyber Steel group. Anybody in the Discord has probably seen me link to it before.
Yeah.
And where else can people find you if they want to get in touch, Butcher?
You can find me on Instagram, and you can see like the 100 or so photos I posted so far. It's like I said, it's just a small fraction. Actually, some of them are like blurry because I'm trying to take them on the down low, and people are walking by, and it's dark, and there's weird. There's weird light sources, and I said, you know what? I'm going to put these out there because it really does capture the frenetic energy of the moment.
Yeah,
for sure.
And you can make out what's going on, and you see, especially when you see somebody with like 4 light up eyes on their costume. But you can find me at Ambrose_Butcher on Instagram, and if you have any weird questions that are related to this topic, you're on your own on anything else.
Right on. Yes, we'll link to that there in the show notes.
Yeah. I'd be happy to give you my personal opinion and take it for what you paid for it.
I'll badge you to get on the Discord and say hi to us. I know you're on there too.
Yeah,
Heck
totally. Totally.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Because I'm a void when it comes to like fashion. I have no eye for it. I'm just like, I'm a function over form guy. I don't know when that happened to me, where I just broke and I stopped. I think it was when I stopped having that stupid little like chin hair like John Travolta did.
98 then? 97?
Yeah. I think that was when I broke. It was like that, and then like 9/11 happened, and everyone just stuck.
I'm really surprised that you're not the kind of person that wears a jumpsuit all the time.
Don't blame 9/11. But.
No, that's just a matter of time. Like
as the Venture Brothers said, it's a speed suit.
It's a speed suit.
Speed suit. There's a little callback for you.
Oh man, yeah. Well, no, I miss my machine shop uniforms. They were just easy.
Just go for it. You know, like G-Star has one on sale right now, depending on your size.
There you go.
I'm about to be moving back into the onesies. Is like that's what I want for my 50th birthday. Is just a bunch of onesies, including one orange one that says Pluto Penal Colony.
There you go. You want them like traditional Western onesie for your duster where they have a trap door on the back, or just standard kind of dystopian worker? I'm in Andor prison, in Star Wars Andor jumpsuit.
Orange jumpsuit, black duster, mirror shades.
Absolutely, with a poo patch, because I'm not. Yeah, because I'm not trying to like take that down and tie it around my ankles. I don't want that shit on the floor where I'm shitting. I just want to be able to like flip a hatch open.
Are you gonna like put neon lights around your poo patch and just like warning exhaust port, on it or something light up?
Well, as we were talking about this, I was thinking about it, and I was like, okay, this is what I would do. Okay, so I would get my work boots, my jeans, cool t-shirt. Fucking my old, like I stole one of those. You get uniforms and they wash them for you and shit. You know what I mean? And I just like the shop closed before I could bring everything back, so I have like one shirt left, and it's got my name on it, and it's like a little small, but I would just walk around and get increasingly dirty and bloody. Just like people would see me walk really fast across the entire thing, and then I would just go about my day. And then I would have this like really concerned look on my face, and the next time you see me, I'd be a little dirtier. And then like by the end of it, there'd be like a cut on my arm with like blood running down it, and I would never talk about what was happening.
I think that would be a group.
I'd be just like I'd be loaded up with like wrenches and shit, and like like a socket wrench and everything, just like on bandoliers. And I would just
every time you walk by, you go up a size and wrench until you have one get it carried into your hand.
I'm just dragging this thing through.
So you're basically just what's his name? Bob Odenkirk from Nobody. That's what you're doing.
Basically, yeah. Or I'm actually fixing things, but things are getting increasingly difficult. And like a couple of times I have like a black eye, like I just never say anything to anyone though. I just if I make eye contact with you, I grunt. Like that's all right. So yeah, thank you very much. And thanks for listening. This was cool, and
we'll link off to some of the videos and some of the pictures and stuff that we've been talking about here. In the Discord.
In the immortal words of Buckaroo Banzai, remember, no matter where you go, there you are.